Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is Teacher Ruby of Rwanda speaking. I would like to welcome you aboard indigenous Flight 001 bound for Philippine Popular Culture. Our planned flying time is 1 hour and 45 minutes, and we shall be cruising at altitude of 36,000 feet. The weather in Europe is forecasted to be great. In the meantime, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the flight. Again, welcome aboard.
Philippines is an archipelagic country in Southeast Asia. It is situated in the Western Pacific Ocean and consists of around 7,641 islands that are globally categorized under three main geographical divisions from north to south: Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. The country boasts of rich natural beauty in its many spectacular beaches, salmon and rich biodiversity. More than that, the Philippines' unique and complex culture, as exemplified by its people, cuisine, and lifestyle, attracts many people to visit the country.
Are you at the risque?
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
I need it to risque because I want to see some cultures here in the Philippines.
Oh, sure. Before that, I would like you to time travel to see how beautiful the Philippines is during the time of our ancestors.
Hey, wow, that's amazing. Time travel. I like it. Can we go now?
Yeah, sure. But before that, we are going to know first the introduction of the Philippine culture.
Let's talk about the Philippine culture a little bit about the folk culture is a pre-colonial belief. It is already existed before the arrival of the Spanish and 16th century. Before the arrival of the Spanish, the pre-colonial beliefs of the Philippines was already existed, and then it is it is with Catholic faith, and then the Catholic faith after faith in the Holy Trinity and the divinity of Christ, the importance of Jesus Christ, and the sacraments of the Catholic Church. So, the mix na ito ang belief. Sa before pa mga Spanish ko na ang mga Pilipino na sila yung original na Philippine sa kung-agas pagkakot sa mga Spanish. And let's go to the millenarian movement.
So, the Philippine culture is really highly diverse and rich. It is because, but however, it is not really about the Philippines itself, because the Philippines has been colonized. At the same time, our beliefs and practices had been influenced already.
So,
With that, after the introduction, is that we're going to know first the different folk cultures here in the Philippines.
Folk cultures, as I said earlier, it's a pre-colonial belief. So, in folk culture, we have the Philippine folk dance, then it is represent the Philippines of the culture of the values and beliefs of the Philippines. So the folk dance is promoting the national identity of the Philippines. And it is the importance of folk dance. So it is very traditional to the Philippines in terms of dancing. The folk dance represents our culture.
So one of the mentioned folk cultures that she mentioned was the folk dances. So there are many different folk dances here in the Philippines. With that, let me present the one of the folk dances here in the Philippines. Those are the different folk, those are the festivals here in the Philippines. I'm sure some of the shown pictures are just some of the many festivals here in the Philippines. And now, since she already mentioned about folk dances and national identity, let me present to you one of the many folk dances also here in the Philippines. So if you are familiar with Inislakan or in other nationality, this is called Bilakan.
include Cebuano, Ilocano, Tagalog, and more. Indigenous group make about 15% of the population preserving ancient traditions.
Wow, it is the indigenous people of the Philippines.
Yes, these are the indigenous people in the Philippines living in Baguio.
Wow.
And the music that we presented is also one of their folk musics. They usually dance this when they're going in the forest to do hunting.
Ah. You only use spear and shield.
Yes, they use this here in Philippines because it's here to at the same time, women joins them when they do the dances.
Wow.
So those are one of the many beautiful dances here in the Philippines. And those dances was presented by many of the lowland coastal ethnic groups. So basically there are a lot of many lowland coastal ethnic groups in the Philippines, and those that dances here a while ago is that they are the ignorant people dancing their tribal dance in the mountains. So the example people presented here are the ignorant people. So as I what mentioned, what I have mentioned a while ago, they are the ones residing in Banawi rice terraces because they are the origin or they are the one who really cultivated the Banawi rice terraces. That makes the Philippines also known for that because it is one of the UNESCO's listed rice terraces here in the Philippines. I am sure you're also, even though you're from other country, you know Banawi rice terraces is one of the many tourist spots here in the Philippines.
Yeah. The Manawi rice terraces is so popular with other countries also because of its amazing, beautiful and cultivated lands.
Yes, and at the same time, trivia for Banawi rice terrace, many as actually has been controversial since many has argued if it is man-made or it is naturally made. However, according to some researchers, Banawi rice terraces was actually man-made by those ignorant peoples. That's why they're also known for that. And next is the Negrito. Actually, the Negrito is one of the oldest inhabitants here in the Philippines. Despite being the oldest inhabitants, it is not that visible in our faces that we are really originated from the Negrito since our physical appearances is highly influences by other culture. Next is the Mindanao or the Western Visayas tribes, and basically these tribes are already from Luzon and later on, from Visayas and Mindanao, and this, so these are also usually also Muslims, since Muslim minorities are also from those provinces. And since we're done with discovering the different folk and indigenous cultures in the Philippines, have you learned something or do you want to know more?
The Philippine indigenous tribe was so amazing because they only survived through hunting some pigs and other animals in the forest, so it's really amazing.
So this really portrays that the Philippines is rich and diverse in cultural heritages, and folk indigenous cultures are crucial to national identity because I firmly believe that culture is the soul of a society, and without the culture, our identity is not really visible, or we are because culture is our identity, because our system of belief and our practices nowadays are based on our cultures and highly influenced by our culture. So preserving these cultures is vital for our future generations now. May we is highly connected to what the classical times has been. So with that, as you mentioned a while ago, you mentioned about Canada being influenced by Spanish culture. So let's talk about how does this culture spread, or how does this culture was being mixed up together, or how does this culture was continually evolving despite times. So first is, but are you, before we go, are you hungry, or
Yeah.
maybe you can have some
I
snacks?
was been hungry, so
So
let's have
let's
snacks.
go over and have some snacks. Excuse me, miss, what are you selling? We call it shumai.
Ah, so nice.
Are
From,
you familiar with shumai?
not really. It's from the Philippines.
Actually, this is not from the Philippines, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So, if I'm not mistaken, shumai, how much is this, by the way? It's, 3 pieces for 20 pesos.
Wow.
Yes. Is this cheap or expensive for you?
The price is, I don't know, maybe it
It's
depends on
very affordable, sir.
the taste or what.
So let's say first, thank you, miss.
Thank you. So this is shomai. So,
Yes, it's from usually those kind of cuisines are from China,
wow, China part.
and Japanese is a mix of both, but it is in Asia actually. So you may taste it how are you going if it is really your place or a very good place.
Okay. Tasty and compounding.
How was the taste, sir?
The taste is so different from the other somai, right? Why they so spicy?
Actually, it is because despite being influenced by those foreign cultures, obviously we are still going to adapt to our own taste so that it would sell to the people. And even if it sounds like it is a foreign cuisine, but it would match to our taste, and so that we can also like the taste. So that's it, sir. That's one of the example of cultural fusion, by the way. Because when you say cultural fusion, it is when two or more cultures fuse together to produce a new culture. So one of the many examples is that our cuisines or our foods here in the Philippines, it's not that many of our cuisines are actually influenced by foreign culture. So that's just one example of cultural fusion. So are you ready to
Thank
maybe
you.
we can go over to other places?
Okay, let me first.
But before we are going to continue with our discovery to other places, I want you to go over first with the different, one of the most common festivals here in the Philippines, the Sinulog Festival. Sinulog Festival is usually held on every third Sunday of January. It is in honor of the child Jesus, the second Niño. So the lady dancing in front, those are called the festival queens since it represents ordinary very fertile dancing.
Really so beautiful, no?
Yes, yes, because usually queens are really beautiful. So, and with that, Sinulog Festival or the Christian faith or Christianity here in the Philippines is highly influenced by the Spaniards. So when you say and that kind of activity is one of the example of cultural diffusion. Because when you say cultural diffusion, it is the spread of beliefs and social activities. And since those activities came from Spaniards and the Spaniards were spread here in the Philippines for us to continually practice, and the Catholic faith or our religious belief is highly influenced by that. So this, even though cultural diffusion is the spread, there are other means of spreading our culture. So first is that cultural diffusion, because when you say cultural diffusion, sir, it means that when a person migrates, so since you are here in the Philippines, I'm your daily living for next time. So there are actually three subtypes of expansion diffusion. So first is that we have contagious diffusion. So when you say contagious diffusion, the cultural element spreads from a single person to or not literally a single person, but an organization to spread culture. So one of the common trends for this is the dance cover or the common trends here in TikTok. Since we all have TikTok accounts, right, and you are all familiar with the different current trends. So since you know Philippines are very dancers, I want you to all to stand. I want you all to stand up, please. Since let's for sir, I want you to showcase your talents by dancing this. Please dance.
Okay, so
present in there. So those are the some of the Filipino practices that has been practiced to generation since it is called hierarchical diffusion. Next is we have stimulus diffusion. So these are cultural elements. So maybe it is in the presented example later, sir, maybe you can see that maybe it is a practice of your culture, but then it is just it is blended by our own culture, so that we would be able to adapt. One of the best examples that sir is the shomai, because yes, it is influenced by other culture, but then we blend and mix it with our own culture, so that we would be able to adapt to that. And yes, that was the example of stimulus diffusion. So despite the trying times the Philippines has been facing, the Philippines has been preserving its culture in every means. So there are a lot of ways the Philippines has been preserving its culture. Since when you say cultural preservation, this means refer to the practice of maintaining and promoting the heritage, the traditions, and knowledge of a particular culture. So it is not just the Philippines who really who preserve its culture, but I know in your country, sir, you're also preserving your culture because, as again as what I mentioned, the Wadago culture reflect our identity, and it is also the source, or yes, the source or the basis of our daily living and our practices in our village. So these are just the mentioned ways on how to preserve our culture. First is the documentation and archiving, education and transmission. So when you say documentation, it is when there are events or other events is that we are going to document it and save or archive it, so that sooner or later we'll still be able to look back to that events. Next is education and transmission. So yes, that's why there is history education, or yes, social studies, or reading history, because it is one of the ways in how we look back and look at on what are the different cultures the Philippines has, and how diverse and rich the Philippine culture is. Next is we have museum and cultural institution, and it is the most common ways on how to preserve our culture. Because in every, if I'm not mistaken, or really it is indeed, in every municipalities, there are museums that really reflect that municipality, or that province has own museum, and that museum reflect the people's, their ancestors' ways of living. And also language preservation. So language preservation is, I know we have been preserving it because we have been talking with our own dialects at the same time, the Filipino language. Next is we have cultural festival and events. As you can see, sir, we have presented a while ago the different cultural festival and events here in the Philippines, because that's one way of how we maintain and preserve the Philippine culture through the practice of festivals and events. Next is policy and legislation, and at the same time, the Philippines is also supporting its organizations where they preserve culture, because through their policies and laws that they implement, so that the culture of the Filipinos would not be extinct, and it would be continually practiced. Next is we have digital preservation. So one way of digital preservation is it is connected with documentation and archiving. Since once you archive presentations, it would actually be preserved through media, and there are some CDs that because we won't be able to look at the steps. Yes, as you can see, they presented the people who presented the different cultural dances is that we are the current people, the present people, but then how were we able to know that those are the steps or those are the songs? Well, that was because of digital preservation, or even the documentation. Because for the documentation, us have before. Next is restoration and conservation. So obviously, since once you preserve culture, you need to really conserve and restore it. Restoration means it is what it is, not it is what or you're going to alter it. So when you say restore from its originality, not because restore because it would adapt to the current trend. So here are some of the examples of how to preserve cultures. First is through museums and cultural institutions. So this is the National Museum, the Ayala Museum, since what I have presented here are some of the big museums here in the Philippines. Next is the Palawan Museum, and our province, the Bohol Museum. Next is the cultural festival and events. Next is the digital preservation through documentation. Since we were not able to document these events, obviously we were not able to look at what are the things that they do during those events. At the same time, we will not be able to know that they have those festivals if they are not going to document those activities. So, are you amazed by the different cultures here in the Philippines, sir?
Yeah, and I'm also amazed that all the cultures in the Philippines, especially the African culture, is preserved well and preserved well so that it can be really passed to the next generation.
So,
That's really amazing.
yes, since cultural preservation is it is crucial for maintaining its diversity and richness of the human civilization and peace, fosters our sense of identity and continuity, and it also provides valuable insights into history and human development. So it is really necessary for us to look back to the past because one way, since it is one of the ways on how we were able to connect or identify why is that with all our theories and why we are living in these ways or why are we behaving these ways because through cultural preservation we were able to identify and answer those theories. So before we end our presentation, I mean sir, do you have any questions regarding Philippine culture?
Nothing because you expanded and explained it very well so that me and the classmates can really understand it.
So thank you sir for visiting the Philippines. I hope you're going to come back. So before we end our presentation, let me present you the references of the teaching videos that we have presented and also some of the ideas that we connect here in our presentation. So,
Ladies and gentlemen, we just have landed in the Philippine popular culture. On behalf of the group one, I would like to say thank you, indigenous, for flying with us. And so we are hoping to see you in our next flight. Once again, thank you and enjoy your stay on PPC.
so thank you everyone for listening to and participating in our presentation. I hope you enjoyed our presentation despite its dinalian and
9:45.
By 9:45.
So,
I give you 5 minutes. So at 9:30 we are going. At 9:30 we are going to start our quiz. And for those who so our quiz is up to 10 items and 5 items for true or false. Then 6 to 10 for identification. And since all of you participated a while ago, we are going to have additional 5 points and additional 5 points for those who are here yesterday. So the additional total is going to be 10 points, but those who were not here yesterday, you are going to just have additional 5 points. And please do write it in your 1/4 sheet of paper. Yes, classify because all of you participated. So at 9:30 we are going to start. And by the way, isn't it Jeremiah assign someone to check the attendance per area?
Wait, absent na niya.
Other person? No one is absent?
Naman, sisa. Sisa. O, present kita na tayo. Sisa, ba? Sisa. Wow, sisa tayo, sisa.
Wait, absent, Pilipinas. Mga doktor, mga bigas, mga sako.
Sisa, absent.
Thank you for the attendance.
Yay, wala bilang po. Oo, may brand na, may mawagis. There are 3 subtypes of expansion, diffusion, contagious, vertical, and stimulus. Don't be pressured, our quiz is just easy. If you are able to listen and comprehend properly our discussion. Not literally. We just
Are you all ready? Let's start. So, a quick relapse or assessment for topic. Number 1. True or false? Non-material culture can be preserved in museums. Please don't discuss. Understand it. Non-material culture can be preserved in museums. Non-material. True or false? Are you all answering?
Yes.
Number 2. One way of preserving cultures is to make it look strong and suit in present standards. One way of preserving cultures is to make it look strong and suit in present standards. Kuya Kuya has mentioned this during his presentation yesterday. True or false? One way of preserving cultures is to make it look strong and suit in present standards. Are you all done?
Yes, we are.
Number 3. Culture preservation is the process which culture is being practiced and promoted. Again, true or false? Culture preservation is the process which culture is being practiced and promoted. True or false? Are you all done? Number 4. In cultural preservation, they don't need media to preserve it. Again, in cultural preservation, they don't need media to preserve it. True or false? They don't need media. Are you all done? Number 5. Writing down the special happenings in the society can be also called cultural preservation. This is still true or false. Writing down the special happenings in society can also be called cultural preservation. Done? Number 6. This is identification. Who are considered the oldest inhabitants in the Philippines? Who are considered the oldest inhabitants in the Philippines? Identification. Who are considered the oldest inhabitants? Don't spread answers that are not correct. No, just kidding. Number 7. It is a phenomenon where two cultures merge in order to produce a new culture. Identification. It is a phenomenon where two cultures merge in order to produce new culture. It is a phenomenon. Two cultures merge to produce a new. This is not a subject. Two cultures merge to produce a new. It doesn't mean you need to blend or mix it to adapt to society. It is just a merely two. You need to use the two. You're all done? What? Sorry. Okay. Number 8. A type of cultural diffusion where one spread its culture through migration. A type of cultural diffusion where one spread its culture through migration. You need to migrate first before you could spread your culture. Through migration. You need to move first before you could spread. You need to There are two types of cultural diffusion, isn't it? The first one is you need to spread, but the other one you need to relocate. Relocate yourselves. There's a clue there. Are you done? Number 9 and 10 is to identify one subtype of expansion diffusion and give its definition. 9 and 10. Identify one subtype. There's the point because you need to first identify the subtype and then just give its definition. So if only the subtype is there, but the definition is around one point. You need to give one subtype and expansion diffusion and give its definition. One subtype of expansion diffusion. There are 3 subtypes. If you are familiar with what you have been dancing a while ago and how you're going to spread culture through, where did they get it? Not exactly as long as the thought is there. There are 3 subtypes of expansion diffusion. Yes, perfect that. As long as only one that gives its definition. Wrong spelling wrong. Wrong spelling wrong, ma'am. Hindi ba dyan kasama ang mali?
Pwede tama, mali.
Just give your thought by 3 or 3 to 5 words. No, there's no limit. You can express further as long as the term used is comprehensive. Wrong spelling. Please correct. Last 5 for those who are here today, and last 10 for those who are here today and yesterday. So,
Bakay mo.
Kamu may sa last point sa naaga hapon, ginamon na gano'n.
pero they're honest na. As long as the thought is there. Are you all done? Stop the checking. Okay, we already have 5 minutes.
Yes.
Are you all done? It's not yet done. Raise your hands.
Beliefs.
Festivals, beliefs, they can be preserved in. So the answer number 1 is false. Number 2, one way of preserving cultures is to make it look strong and sensitive. True or false?
True.
The answer is not one way to say. False. From the word present standard. Yeah. Kung historical source kay di man mo siya usbon base sa unsay base standard. Kung mo siya usbon unsay development restore man. Kaya mo siya usbon sa base standard dili na siya may culture.
I bet you know where I'll go. It is ability and as it is.
Sa kubo ba? Ang kubo is katong kahoy ra. Kung imo sa sa base standard may mo sa simento. Dapat kahoy.
Oh, di na madaog.
Number 2 is false. Number 3. Please go read everybody. Culture preservation is a process which culture is being practiced and promoted. True. Yes. True. Number 4, everybody read. In cultural preservation, they don't need media to preserve it.
False.
Documentation.
Oh. Number 5. Writing down essential happenings in society can be also called cultural preservation.
True.
Number 6.
Oo, consider.
Consider the olden habitats in the
Negrito.
Negrito.
Dapat sila sa Pilipinas.
Number 7. Conservatory. Culture works in order to produce new culture. Cultural fusion. Two culture words to produce a new culture. Number 8, everybody. Societal cultural diffusion or its culture into renovation. Relocation diffusion. Relocation diffusion. Diffusion is spelled as D-I-F-F-U-S-I-O-N.
Oy, yo ang location.
Question!
Oy, Roman na. Yo ang location. Yo ang location.
Okay, number 9 and 10. Identify one subtype of expansion diffusion and give. So the first subtype of expansion diffusion is contagious, spherical, and stimulus. So please refer to your notes of what are the definition of those three. Understand na muna siya sa those term. Give it 2 points. Please write the total. It's 10 over 10. Is it correct to write ng class? Is it correct to write ng class? Ano ba? Okay, the additional point to make concern is your attendance. Hindi ko utang personal point ko po yung attendance. Please refer to the owners.
Ala, ini. Tarong na sa to ini. Dili man. Ano ito mo
Please refer and submit in front. Si Parit na kayo.
Apil ka ito.
Ako na submit pa na.
Ina na. Dili ko.
Mana? Or all
Dili ko.
here.
Kasi bata ka pa.
So,